Welcome back to another episode of the Unknown Sports Podcast. My name is AJ Musser. Joined with me, as usual, is Hunter, Harris, and Austin Fyffe. Guys, week 2, football's still back. Big things happening this weekend, but did you guys have a little text thread going on between the two of you Sunday night by any chance?
Nope.
No, I did my complaining in a full group chat, not a one-on-one situation.
I wasn't even a part of the group chat.
Yeah, I guess, Austin, you complained in multiple group chats that night, I believe. Yes.
One via voice and one via text.
Yes. Hunter, did you have a good time Sunday night, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get into it in a second. I have mixed reviews on my Packers so far. But
yes, and what I was referring to was Sunday night's Bears-Packers game at the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Austin, I bet you could have used a cold beer that night.
I had probably 4 or 5. Yeah.
Oh, all right. That's pretty good then, too.
Very necessary.
By any chance, were any of them a Landshark Premium Lager?
They were not.
Oh, well, this is from Margaritaville Brewing Company out of St. Louis, Missouri. Is there anything Margaritaville-ish about St. Louis, Missouri?
No, not at all.
I don't think so.
No. The Church's Chicken in East St. Louis that was closed 2 years ago, definitely Landshark vibes there. Yeah, for sure. Margaritaville vibes for sure. Crap, this is one of the ones that I need to pop, isn't it?
No,
it's a
twist.
Twist it off. Is it a twist?
Yes, it is a twist. If you put your purse down, it's a twist.
All right. We're good now.
All right, he got it. I was actually going to not go on with the podcast until he got that open. Hunter, can you tell us what's going on in the news, dude?
We waited till week 3 this year to bring it out, didn't we?
Yeah, I just wanted to hear the awkward...
You wanted my first review of this. This is good, man. Have you had this before?
I actually haven't had a Landshark before.
This is really
so this
good.
is numero uno.
And usually when we do our introduction to the beer, it's introduce the beer, and then we set it down like that, and we don't look at it again the rest of the show. And I usually have to remind AJ that we even had a beer of the day. But this one...
That hasn't been true yet this season, but continue.
Review from the top of the show. Pretty dang good beer. I'm really happy with this beer. Island style lager.
Which means you should be on an island when you have it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what Missouri is, isn't it?
Yeah. Last time I looked at a map. But what was I gonna say?
I don't know, man.
Austin, what are you drinking? Yeah.
I haven't drank any yet. I have a dark cherry Angry Orchard.
Whoa.
Never had one before.
We're going with the hard cider over there, and he's got a cherry one. That kind of sounds like if you got a tummy ache and sadness, you drink that. Because I bet it's got a little cough syrup to it, doesn't it?
It's pretty good.
Well, there you go.
It's a hefty one, though. 8%er.
Hefty. All right, let's dive into it. Let's recap some games from week 2 of the NFL season. And let's start with last Thursday night. Let's start with the Chargers at Kansas City. Hunter, give me your first takes or like your biggest takeaway from this game.
Shout out to the undercall. This guy right here. Chiefs are who exactly we thought they are. Patrick Mahomes, I don't know why. Every single year, it's almost like we're searching for somebody in the AFC side, at least, that's better than him. And the answer is just there's no one.
Except for Josh Allen.
Yeah, Josh Allen looks like he might be better. But that's because Josh Allen puts his body on the line a bit more. Does it with the legs a bit more. But that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about Mahomes. We're talking about my boy Justin Herbert, who took an absolute beating that Thursday night. Made some absolute incredible throws too. But Austin, the three of us were kind of talking group chat that night. And Austin, you made the comment that Justin Herbert will be like this generation's Phillip Rivers. Can you give the audience a bit of detail as to what your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So first off, not as disrespectful with context as I think it originally came off.
Yes, when you just have that as the headline, it is very disrespectful.
No, I think he's similar to Rivers. You know, he's a ton of fun. He can be awesome, but he's just in a situation where there's a ton of other dudes in his conference. You know, similar to Rivers coming up with, you know, Manning and Brady and Roethlisberger. It just felt like there was always guys just as good or pretty close to as good, but
with better teams.
Right. With better teams, better coaching staffs. That'll get them farther in the playoffs, and it just won't allow him to really become the superstar that maybe he could be with being in a different situation.
Another similarity, they both play for the Chargers. Man, they just keep stacking up. Wow.
I thought Phillip Rivers played for the Colts. That's my bad.
Yeah, that's how I'll remember him.
But no, you're right, Austin. I mean, especially, when we kind of put that in today's context, yeah, he's going up against Patrick Mahomes in his division on top of just being in the AFC. But yeah,
Russell
so then he's got
in his division, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. I mean, he's got a ton of dudes that he's got to get past.
Nathan Peterman.
No, he's a Bear.
No.
Is he? Who's he on now? Did you say the Bear? He's on the Bears, really?
Yeah, his practice squad, but still.
There's PT potential there. At some point.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, what did you guys think of the outcome of this game? What did it end up being? How you thought it was going to be? I thought the Chargers came back late. I don't know. Justin Herbert looked absolutely beat up and beat down, and still made throws and still tried to keep his team in it, and couldn't get the onside kick.
That's the story of the game, is how he was fighting through injury this entire second half, at least, of this game, trying to keep them in it.
Okay, hang on. Pause. What? I'm tired of this narrative. No, it wasn't.
Come on, man.
It was the very beginning of the fourth quarter. Let's quit pretending that for the entire game, Justin Herbert had broken ribs.
I didn't. Yeah. No, I didn't say that. He was getting sacked and getting hit a lot, but yes, he wasn't feeling it until the fourth quarter.
The fourth quarter. This isn't one of the gutsiest performances in the history of the NFL. Like, people are trying to spin it.
Oh no, I haven't even heard it spun that way. But I agree.
Ridiculous.
I agree with you that it wasn't until the fourth quarter. But what he did in the fourth quarter while banged up is impressive. But I'm not gonna that's not me. That's not why I like Justin Herbert. I like Justin Herbert for everything else.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you think Keenan Allen makes a difference in this one, Hunter?
Yeah, he makes a difference, but at the end of the day, I think the Chiefs' defense is just showing us that they're very improved this year. And when you do that to a Chargers offense, I know it's Thursday Night Football, short week, all that stuff. I picked the under because more of that reason than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I still think their defense is just underrated at this point. Austin, I know you were kind of lukewarm on that. Do you still feel the same way? Or are you on my side yet?
On the Chiefs?
Yeah, on the Chiefs defense.
No, I'm with you. I think it's going to be better. Okay. I don't think it's going to be elite this year, but I think it's definitely going to be better than what my pushback is. That you said that Justin Reed was better than Tyrann Mathieu. That was my pushback.
Oh, okay.
But no, as a whole, for sure, I think this Chiefs defense is going to be better. It was super young last year. You had guys that kind of burst onto the scene, but they still had moments. Nick Bolton was awesome. He was a tackling machine the second half of last year. But he still had rookie moments, like coverage busts, biting in on play action too hard when it wasn't his necessary assignment to fill certain gaps, because he was just allowed to be more of an athlete in college. So I think as the younger guys really take shape, Karlaftis is going to be awesome for him. He's just going to need some time. He's already shown a couple splash plays here and there, but I think that front four, especially with Karlaftis and Jones, could be really special for them towards the back half of the year.
All right, let's move on to the next one, which could be the most exciting game we had this weekend. The Miami Dolphins at the Baltimore Ravens. Big 21-point comeback here for the Dolphins. Austin, was this Tua's breakout week?
I mean, show some respect to Tuanon.
Put some respect on the name.
Tuanon, this is a good one. I haven't heard of that one before.
Tuanon, man, they're a vicious group out there on Twitter, and don't mess with them. They'll come after you. No, I mean this is kind of one of those things where I think everybody was simply waiting for Tua to take that next step, and it was only one game, so I don't want to go too far overboard, but wow, was he good. I mean, he was special and nothing short of it in that second half. Definitely
far and away his best game that he's ever played. Yes. I don't even know if I want to pull anything away from it because it was so out of nowhere.
I think the second half is what feels like it was out of nowhere, because the first half he was just kind of Tua. He threw 2 picks in the first half. And it made some good throws in there too. But that second half was like Alabama national championship. Tua, we're throwing you to the fire. You've got to come in and save us. Yep. And he played like his hair was on fire and played really, really well. Hunter, was it you that sent in the group chat today that if Tua was right-handed, or was that
no,
you,
that was
Austin?
Me.
If he was right-handed, what?
There's a guy on Twitter. Yeah. AJ, I don't know if you've got his @ so we can let people know if they're curious.
I'll pull it up right now.
He said he took all of Tua's highlights and flipped them via video, so Tua looks right-handed when he makes the throws, and he basically his whole point is that it's all because Tua's left-handed. This is why you're thinking the throws suck, because when you turn them around, you're like, oh, I mean that's a good ball. It just wasn't perfect, but he was basically saying that people nitpick him to be exactly perfect because he's left-handed and it looks weird. Which I don't know is necessarily wrong.
No, it's not a bad thing at all.
It was very interesting when you watched him flipped and you're like, oh, that doesn't even look like the same guy.
So that's the part I wanted to talk about, was that video. And I couldn't find it. If maybe you can find where you sent it. I can't even remember what you sent it on, honestly. But when I watched it flipped, I was like, okay, I don't see a difference in the arm strength. The arm strength is still the same arm strength to me, but the awkwardness of seeing a lefty throw the football is taken away. So it's like, oh, okay, it's not ugly, but like, I still don't think he's got the pop on the ball that everyone, we all know he doesn't have.
No, the Finn Sports Football is the Twitter account which that came from, if anyone's curious. I think ultimately what it comes down to is we're so used to seeing stuff right-handed. It's the same way when you see left-handed shooters in the NBA. Yeah. Is that when the shooting stroke is good, it's like, wow. Like your mind's blown away because it's different and it's smooth and it's perfect. But the second it's not quite perfect,
it's
your
awkward.
Brain immediately goes, ugh, what is that?
Yes.
Like it's not, there's no middle ground in those two thought processes. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of to blame. I don't want to jump too far because he still did even underthrow that Tyreek Hill touchdown, which we said was going to be a problem. But he caught it. So it is what it is.
It helps when Tyreek Hill outruns the coverage and gives himself 10 yards of cushion so that when he has to stop and the guys catch up 5 yards, he still catches it wide open.
It's super nice when a young head coach has a great quarterback, but it turns out it's just as nice if you give that young head coach 2 guys that are faster than anybody else possibly can be.
Yeah, so that's go ahead, keep going.
It's sometimes, everybody wants to make everything, it has to be an RPO and it has to be this dude's third read and we have to scramble out of the pocket and we got to do this and that. Sometimes you can just give the fast dudes the ball and it'll work out.
Yes, absolutely. And that's like one of the things I have written down as my takeaways. I've been kind of writing down my takeaways from all the games I watch. My Dolphins takeaway this week is offense equals very fast. And that team is just going to try to beat teams with speed, and they're just going to try to score points with speed.
Yeah.
And they have the guys to do it for sure.
Absolutely. And the offense kind of is built to work. I mean, because they have the pieces. You've got 2 of the faster receivers in the league, one of them being the fastest. And you've got a quarterback that can get the ball to them on time and accurately. It's kind of all you need.
They really need to figure out the running back position still kind of in no man's land with that. But if Tua is just apparently going to throw 6 touchdowns a game, I guess you don't really need a run game, do you? What I really like about Waddle, though, is he can take a slant to the house at any point in time, Tyreek's a little bit more different. You got to be more creative in how you get him the ball, or it's got to be a 9 route. That's honestly his best route he runs. But Waddle, you get it to him in space, and he might be gone.
Well, and 2 or 3 different times they were, and it sounds simple when you say it the way I'm going to say it, but if you just send Tyreek on a go route and then drag Waddle across the middle of the field behind him, what are you supposed to do as a defense?
Yeah, because the corner's got to run with Tyreek. The safety's going to commit. And if you just run across or underneath, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then if you somehow figure out a way to cross both of them, then once Gesicki finds his groove in here, if they can use him similar to Kittle at least in the passing game part of it, he's going to be able to float in the middle of that field. And it's going to be really hard for teams to stop them.
Yeah, it's interesting with how early on in the season it is that this offense looks as good as it does. It'll be very interesting to see if they adapt or if people start to pick up on it. It's a long season. We just finished week 2. Any Ravens takeaways this game for you guys? I know we just spent a lot of time on the fins, the fish tank.
I don't have a lot, mainly because that game kind of flipped on its head and got out of hand real quick. Yeah. And it became all Dolphins offense basically the rest of the game. We didn't really get to see a whole lot of Lamar trying to still seal that game. We didn't get to see a lot of any of their really playmakers in the fourth quarter of that game whatsoever, Yeah. It was basically the Dolphins offense on the field the entire rest of the game. When you're coming back from 21 points, it's kind of the case.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens offense had a couple of fourth down attempts that they didn't convert that game. They just couldn't push the pile. I think a couple of them or all of them were kept by Lamar, and he just couldn't get it, couldn't get that yard or 2 that they needed. Let's move on to the next one. I think we are ready for that. Let's go to the Arizona Cardinals at the Las Vegas Raiders. Another big comeback. Did you watch this one at all? Or
yes.
This one slipped through your radar?
Nope. This one was one that I had on my TV at all times for the 3:00 window.
Yeah, I remember I texted you guys pretty early on in this game and said, Arizona looks bad. And I was like laughing at how bad they looked. And then I started watching other games. And then all of a sudden I saw that the Raiders lost. Can you walk me through what you witnessed?
So I kind of want to back up a little bit. Remember last year at this time when we were talking about Kyler Murray and how he was an MVP candidate?
Yes. We were all giving him the week 3, week 4 MVP title award.
Are we done giving him the young QB excuse now? Like he's got to figure it out and be consistent?
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
Okay.
I'm sure Austin is too.
Because games like this one, he looks bad, like a legitimate bad quarterback, like not even any redeeming qualities at all.
Yeah, I just think it's mind blowing that they had the monumental collapse as a team last year that they did, and the head coach, the GM, and Kyler Murray all get massive contract extensions, and then they come out week 1 and look as bad as they did. And then they have to figure it out and finally come to life this season in the second half of that game. I don't know. And is this something like to panic about for Cardinals fans? Do you hit the bat signal of, hey, does Kyler Murray have to put on a superhero cape in the second half of games just for us to win because our head coach and our offense just can't function like throughout a normal game, and our defense too. The defense is terrible.
Well, the defense is a different story. The defense is a result of personnel and how they basically just gutted that defense, and there's not a lot of playmakers left. Offensively, They have playmakers, several playmakers. I mean, you have Kyler, obviously, but at the wide receiver position, they've basically, I mean, you still out Hopkins, of course, number 1 wide receiver, but they have a lot of speed there. I mean, Marquise Brown, that's a guy that when they added him, I thought they could maybe get him the ball in space and he could take it a long distance, be that type of guy for them because they didn't really have that before, even though they were losing Christian Kirk. Wide receiver, tight end, Zach Ertz, I think, is having a phenomenal year. He kind of looks back to the guy he used to be in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
To me, what it is more than anything is it just seems like there's some games And I'm not trying to even point to the Call of Duty thing, not even trying to bring it back to that, but it seems like some games Kyler just is not prepared and doesn't show up. And I can't explain it. But whenever he is in that groove and he is, creating outside the pocket, extending plays, all that stuff, they're fantastic. And he looks like he might be the best quarterback in the league. But then there's the next game, you might show up and he might take the first snap and throw it directly to the defense immediately. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I just don't think he's a good pre-snap quarterback, and I don't think he's probably that great of a prep quarterback. But a dude that you say go out there and play football, he can do that. It's very obvious that the guy's got all the athletic talents in the world, but I just don't know between the ears if he's got that quarterback intangible knowledge that you're looking for. You know what I'm saying?
And yeah, he's a young kid, and that might be a lot of it. But you're also a professional quarterback getting paid millions of dollars to do this. You got to figure it out and be consistent.
Yeah. Yes. And I do think, though, that there's other quarterbacks in the league that are young like him, but have been putting in that time and figuring that stuff out.
Your boy, Josh Allen. Very, very rough on all of the stuff, pre-snap, post-snap, all of it. Super rough quarterback when he came into the league. But he worked on it, and now he's better, and he's super consistent now. Kyler, it's like he's not even trying to work on it. It's just like he just shows up and he plays football, and that's it. Yep. And if it's a good game, great. If not, well, on to the next one. We're the Cardinals anyways. We aren't winning the division. Come on.
Yeah, they're not winning the division.
On this game, though, particularly, I think the Raiders lost this game more than the Cardinals took it from them. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, I would. I mean, Raiders couldn't do anything in the second half. Devontae Adams wasn't really much of a factor in this game.
Wasn't much of a factor. They didn't make him a factor. It's like they went from week one of overfeeding him. He had what? Yeah, 12 catches week one, something like that, something crazy.
Yeah, 11 or 12 on like 17 targets.
And then week two, it's like Derek Carr came out, and it's like the coach told him, "You have to ignore 17. If you're throwing the ball anywhere at all, it needs to be somewhere else because they're going to be keyed on him." When that's not how you use a number one wide receiver at all.
Yeah, it didn't help, too, that Hunter Renfrow had a couple costly plays in this game, and in overtime, they're moving the ball downfield, and he fumbles the ball 2 plays in a row. One of them, his teammate bails him out and recovers, and then the next one, the Cardinals pick up and take it for a touchdown. And that's how the game ends.
He fumbles a lot.
He does fumble a lot. I think he's fumbled 8 times in the last season and this year.
Yeah, which is an astronomical number for a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, like to the point where it's like, hey, red flag, this is an issue with this guy.
I think the Raiders have a lot of growing pains left in this season. I mean, they've already shown they have growing pains. I mean, they're 0-2. But I think they can still overcome them. It's just got to be – they all have to be on the same page here. What's our identity? Are we going to be offensive team that has this number one wide receiver and we try to feed him and we try to run the ball as well? Or are we going to spread the ball out amongst all these guys? It's like they just don't know who they are right now.
I'm out on them for the season.
You're out?
I'm out. There was tons of talk after week one with Devontae Adams getting all those targets that they can't be centered around one player. They can't do that. If after 1 week, the outside noise got to them so much that they're changing their offensive game plan and how they adjust, I'm out. That's not a team that can mentally handle a season that's 4 months long. They're going to continue to make adjustments that don't need to be made. And like you said, Hunter, they don't have an identity. And I don't know that they're going to, which was a big problem the first time Josh McDaniels was a head coach. And maybe he hasn't learned all that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big pacifier and safety bib when Bill Belichick's the head coach and all you have to do is worry about the offense. And he says, hey, this is the shape I want this team to be. Do whatever you want with that shape. Whereas now he has complete control and there's no boundaries. And I do think you're right, Hunter, that this team is missing their identity and they've got to find it. Let's move on. Next one we've got to review is Austin. Glad you're back, dude. It's time. Bears Packers Sunday Night Football. Hunter, Hunter, I'll let you go first with your takes on this game and kind of your thoughts on your Packers. And I want you to focus for this. I want you to kind of focus more on your Packers, and I'm going to let Austin kind of focus on his Bears, and I'll be the mediator here.
Okay.
So the floor is yours for 90 seconds. Go.
Packers defense looked a lot better this game. We're also at home, so it doesn't mean a whole lot because we always play like this against the Bears at home. Every single Bears home game is the exact same game. But offensively, we found a way to get it to our playmakers, which are the running backs, and that's just what we continually need to do. I'm just worried about this team. What does it look like when you're playing from behind? Because you can play from a lead all day when you're at Lambeau Field playing against the Bears, who are, kind of an inferior opponent, right, Austin? Thank you.
Yeah, he's nodding his head yes.
But the receiver-wise, if we're trying to mount a comeback in a game, I just don't know what that looks like at this point. And maybe I should just stop being a pessimistic fan and just say, hey, great, we found our identity, and that's in the running backs. But I also kind of would like to be a well-rounded team. That'd be kind of cool.
All right. That's a good take. Way to wrap that up in your allotted time frame as well. Nice job. Point for you. So our around the horn segment. Austin, your turn.
Do I have to talk about the Bears? I don't want to.
I'll give you 30 seconds to talk about the Bears, and you can talk about the refs for 60 in whichever order you prefer.
No. Okay. So, Justin Fields was not good. Okay. That's ultimately what this game came down to for the Bears. It was not good. The indecisiveness was the biggest problem. I went back and rewatched the game, and there was several times where receivers were NFL open. They weren't wide open, but they're open in the NFL. You have to make those throws. There was a big 3rd and 9 play towards the end of the game, or towards the middle of the third quarter, where Bears started to kind of get some stops. It kind of felt like they had a chance to kind of grab some momentum. Dante Pettis came wide open on a 15-yard in route. Fields didn't throw it, even though he was looking right at him. He said in the post-game press conference that was his first read. He also said his second read on that play was Equanimeous St. Brown, who absolutely torched Eric Stokes on the backside, had about 9 yards on him. He didn't make that throw either. It just can't happen. If you're going to be the guy, it can't happen. It's ultimately as simple as that. There was moments in the game where Luke Getsy, which is what I was afraid of. I don't remember if I was talking on the podcast or just talking to you guys outside of the podcast about trying to outpacker the Packers. It happened. That first drive, they absolutely ran the ball right down the Packers' throats and then just quit running the ball. It made absolutely no sense. It became super predictable. There was a couple really deep fakes. And ultimately, the Packers were determined to not let Justin Fields' legs be part of the game. And they did a really good job of that. Second of all, the Packers aren't good, okay? I'm stamping this year. I'm tired of beating around the bush. This team's not good. Okay, we can caveat here. They wouldn't have won this game, so I want that very clear. The Bears were never winning this game, regardless of what came. The officials were terrible in this game. I mean, absolutely terrible. And you can roll your eyes all you want, Hunter. I was watching it with 3 other guys that are not Bears fans that were calling out the exact same things that I was calling out. They were brutal. I could run through holes if you're allowed to rip the defensive tackles down by their shoulder pads and throw them to the ground. Anytime anybody bursts in the line, if we're allowed to put the defensive tackle in a headlock and ride him to the ground and it not be called a flag, it's not that hard to run for as many yards as they did. If they didn't have those things against a very inferior Bears defensive line, this team is going to struggle against any sort of contenders.
Is that a bowl of candy?
No, it's popcorn. I was sitting back and enjoying. Hunter, do you have a rebuttal for him?
Every single Bears game. Why do you got to bring it back to the refs, man? Even if it is bad officiating in one way or another, you always spend half the time on the Bears, half the time on the officials.
There was 4 seconds on the refs. The rest of it was on the Packers not being good. No, see,
he's right. And I gave him 60 seconds to talk about the refs, and he didn't use it.
Yeah. Okay, AJ, as the mediator in this conversation, did we not have this conversation about 10 times watching that game?
So I was one of the people watching that game with them. I did recognize all of the holding calls. And I want to say our good buddy Michael has a pretty good theory.
Hey, wait, hang on. Before you say this theory, Hunter, I just want to acknowledge it was not me that came up with this theory. Okay.
Well, I'm not even gonna make it mainly a Packers thing because I was telling Hunter before. I'm not muted, am I?
No,
we're good. Sorry, you threw me off for a second. Anyway, I went through and watched all the highlights today, and I noticed that thing that we talked about, Austin, in several games. Michael's theory is that the NFL is saying, hey, let's be pretty cautious on the low end with the holding calls because we want to protect these quarterbacks that draw in the money and draw in the viewership. So kind of let some of these holdings go. If you look around the league, there are lots of holding calls not being called. So I'm not just making it a Packers thing, and it's not just an Aaron Rodgers thing. Did the Packers benefit from some? Sure they did. But there's a lot of other teams this weekend that did as well.
You're actually, that's a really good point that you're actually bringing up, because I was noticing this as well. They're definitely trying to protect the quarterback more, which is a good thing to do.
Yeah, of course. And then when it gets to the playoffs, this was what I said then to follow up Michael's idea, is that when they get to the playoffs, hey, it's football now. Like, we're calling the holdings and stuff. And then I naturally said, maybe that's why the Packers aren't so good when it gets to the playoff time, because they get to have all of these open holes, and Rodgers gets this time because they get some of these holding calls, because all of these quarterbacks that are of this upper echelon are getting some of these holding calls, and now that they're not, the pressure's getting there quicker, and then we see what happens.
That's not why the Packers struggle in the playoffs. Packers struggle in the playoffs because Rodgers doesn't trust throwing into tight windows anymore in the playoffs.
That's fine.
But the Packers get a hell of a lot more attention for these types of holding calls. I don't know if you guys knew this. No. I don't know if you guys knew this. The whole offensive line grabbing outside the shoulder pads thing that is across the NFL, by the way, now. This is a league-wide thing. That originated in Green Bay. That's a Green Bay thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like, I'm being straight up here, and I know you're taking this as you're proving my point, right?
Because you are.
But it's a league-wide thing that everybody utilizes now, and you just notice it more because in Green Bay, it is law whenever you are pass blocking, you grab them outside the shoulder pads like this. Now, obviously, you're supposed to let go when they go one way or the other.
What about when the shoulder pads or the jersey gets ripped off the shoulder pads? Is that a Green Bay thing, or is that other places?
Oh, that's a.
What about headlocks?
That's
when we put guys in headlocks when they get beat. That one. Oh, how about when Elton Jenkins literally grabs a guy by the back of both shoulder pads and forces him into Rodgers' legs, and we throw a flag but then pick it up?
Is that why you guys lost 27-10?
I told you at the start of when I talked about this that they were not going to win this game. But Packers fans need to wake up.
We spent way too much time on this officiating.
No, we didn't. We didn't spend enough time. Why is it so hard for Packers fans in general, just go, yeah, we got some calls? Because
we kick your ass every year, and we get the calls, and I admit that, and I literally just said it. Green Bay literally is taught to grab outside the shoulder pads. I get it.
So when people say that, and then you get butthurt about the thing you just admitted happened in Green Bay,
what makes me butthurt is that we focus on all of that BS instead of the fact that we kick your ass every single year.
A 10-yard holding penalty kills drives. What do you mean BS? That's a huge part of a game.
It is a huge part of the game. Is that why you lost 27-10 and couldn't put up more than 10 points?
Not a very good mediator. I think mediators aren't
you're just there over there
and drink a beer. Yeah.
The literal definition of a Packers fan is exactly what Hunter did right there, is completely ignore everything that's being said and try to go back to, well, I won, so it doesn't matter. And that's all it is, which is fine. But then don't be surprised when you get your ass kicked in the playoffs again.
All right. With that being said, let's move on to our next game. I see we have highlighted the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers. Oh, this is a quick one.
Yeah.
Austin, do let the people know why this one's a quick one.
Because the game sucked, and the worst part of the game was Trey Lance's ankle being bent very disgusting.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
Just really sucks. I mean, he could be one of the great up and coming quarterbacks. But we won't know yet again. Had to sit out last year, and now he's going to miss the rest of this season because of ankle surgery that keeps him out for the entire year. Also didn't play but one game his last year at North Dakota State. Played one season, won a national championship, and sat the 2 previous years before that. So he's actually only played 1 full season now in his last 6 football seasons, which just sucks for a guy that's, that good of an athlete and that special of a talent.
Yeah, I've got written down for my takeaways for the 49ers this week is 49ers get a wasted year without Trey Lance.
Yep.
Another year of Jimmy G. And whatever you get with Jimmy G, you get with Jimmy G. But ultimately, even if you go to unless anything short of winning a Super Bowl, it is a waste of a season.
Yep.
Because you have this thing that you waited last year to use and didn't use him. Now you use him this year and he breaks his ankle, and it's just crap luck for 49ers fans. And I'm sorry.
The Niners have proven that they can make it far in the playoffs with Jimmy G, but they cannot get over the hump of winning the Super Bowl with Jimmy G.
Yep.
And that's why they wanted to try this whole Trey Lance thing out in the first place. And it's going to just be another wasted year for them. But they might still have great success, and we might be talking about, man, with that defense and those playmakers, come playoff time. But we all know the story here. It's not going to get past probably the NFC Championship game this year. Like, I don't see how they could make it out of the NFC with this squad.
No, and it's so weird to have like a somber tone when we say that, because for so many teams that would be just absolutely crazy. But with the roster that San Francisco has, to know right now in week 3 that you're not going to win a Super Bowl just really sucks.
Just because it's been the same story for years.
The worst place to be in the NFL is not the bottom of the barrel. It is right in the middle. Yep. And Jimmy G puts you smack dab there and does not let you get out of it one way or the other.
Yep.
The prison of mediocrity. Seahawks fans, if you want to hear us say anything, Geno Smith had a rough week and he's still a backup quarterback. Let's move on to our next game. We've got surprising backup quarterback, irony. Cooper Rush getting a dub this week against Cincinnati at home. Hunter, I want to start with you on this one. Is this a Joe Burrow issue, or what's going on here? What's going on? Diagnose Cincinnati for me.
It's a little bit of a Joe Burrow issue because he can't stop holding the damn ball. But he got rid of the ball last year, so I don't know why suddenly it's changing. Maybe this team is what Austin thought they would be, and where they would, take that. What is that called? Losing the Super Bowl hangover? Is that what it's called? Is that the point you're about to make too?
That's a mouthful.
Okay, well, before you get to that point, it's an X's and O's thing. It's the fact that they can't protect for Burrow, and he's holding onto the ball on top of that, and defensively they couldn't stop a nosebleed. Go ahead, Austin.
I don't understand why teams do this, and I'm not, contrary to what I'm going to say again, and I've made the point a couple times on the podcast now, even though this isn't my general belief. Why do people not play new players in the preseason? If it's what, either 3 of 5 or 4 of 5 for Cincinnati this year are new on that offensive line.
I think
play together, get some continuity, get some chemistry. They're lost. Anytime any defense does any sort of stunt, any sort of twist, anything, they don't pick up, they don't pass guys off. It's chemistry stuff. It's not that the lack of talent is there, minus the fact that they haven't had great schedule, having to go against TJ Watt and then Micah Parsons.
Yes.
But you add into the fact that any sort of decent defensive line that has a good defensive coordinator behind him, which Dan Quinn is awesome as a coordinator, they don't have much of a chance. And these guys are awesome when Burrow has a chance to get rid of the ball, but he's doesn't have a chance to make a play. And then finally he gets frustrated. And I think that's when he holds onto the ball, because he's like, I'm not going to get this opportunity for the next 2 or 3 plays. So I'm going to try to hold on a little longer and try to get a huge play to hope to save this drive.
Yeah, that's not a bad thought. That's pretty logical. Hunter, I agree with you on the X's and O's thing. This offseason, the Bengals went out and got, like we said, Austin, 3 or 4 offensive linemen, drafted one, and they can't, they're not, I mean, in my opinion, I don't think that the Bengals can coach offensive line because the guys they brought in are solid offensive linemen. They're not scrubs, but if you can't coach how to protect and you can't coach the communication aspect that Austin was talking about, I mean, you can have all the talent in the world as an offensive lineman, but it's a unit position. I mean, you're only as good as your weakest link. Am I wrong?
Nope. Especially not when it's your offensive line. You can't protect your quarterback.
Yes. But that's what I think the problem is. I do think Burrow's holding the ball. That's a good theory, Austin, that he's holding it because he's like, man, this might be the only chance I get of making a boom play here. I think he's just got to worry about nickel and diamond down the field and maybe take it easy on the deep shots.
Yeah, but they can't run the ball either because the offensive line isn't good.
Yeah.
But when you can't run the ball, they can shrink down, and if you can't pass the ball down, it's really hard to nickel and dime when everything's
underneath.
But to on your point though, Austin, if it's time together that's going to fix this problem, won't it get better as the season goes along?
I do think so. I think it'll get better. I think it'll be too late. I think it's going to take 5 or 6 weeks, and by that point, Cincinnati's going to be struggling. Their schedule, maybe don't quote me on this. I don't think it's that easy the first half of the year. When I was looking at it the other day, but I don't remember for sure. And if it's not, if the front half of their schedule is not easy when they've already lost to Pittsburgh and to Dallas, I don't see how they can have time to salvage the season if it doesn't get fixed in this next week or two.
Well, they got a little helping hand this weekend with everyone in the AFC North losing, so makes everybody in the AFC North 1-1, with the exception of the Cincinnati Bengals, who really they're only a game out right now of the top of that division. Let's get moving. Let's move on to let's talk about this one briefly. Hunter, you're kind of the designated Colts fan, the closet Colts fan of the podcast. What happened to them in Jacksonville this weekend? We can just make this one quick.
Short
24-0.
Short answer, I don't know. This is weird. They reshaped a lot of that team in the offseason by adding pieces, and I'm kind of at a loss as to why they suck so bad. Is it Matt Ryan's fault? I don't think so.
I've got here written down my takeaway from this Colts-Jags game is that the Colts offense just isn't creative. It just seems blah, white bread. Just
That's
everything's
kind of
pretty
what
basic.
I'm leaning on.
Like, I see Austin smirking. He's probably going to say he's right about something, and he probably was. I just don't remember.
I have been a big Frank Reich guy for a couple years now, but this start to the season's unacceptable.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you because I do think Matt Ryan was still an upgrade, but like we also know he's not a savior of a franchise. He's still an old guy, but like I don't know. I just don't think that the offense is good. The defense is meh. And the receiving core outside of Michael Pittman, who I don't even think is like a top dude, he's good, but that rest of that receiving core is bad.
And Austin, I know you're about to just absolutely destroy Reich, but the reason I've always liked this guy is he made that run with the Eagles and all of that, obviously. But those upcoming years that he had where he was first time head coach with the Colts there. Those first couple of years where he was piecing it together every year and they had to make those long comebacks not comebacks, whatever you want to call it. Starting off poorly in the season and having to make it to the playoffs, those late runs that they made. Mm-hmm. Very impressive the whole way through. I thought that game against the again, who was he playing against? The Bills, that one game when Josh Allen took Phillip Rivers to the brink there at the end of the game and Phillip Rivers couldn't complete a fourth down pass. I thought that was one of the better called games that I've seen in a while offensively. But since that moment, he has been a complete disappointment to me. Go ahead, Austin.
One, I think I think everyone that listens to the show regularly knows that I have one person in this world that I like to trash more than about anybody else in the NFL, and his name is Chris Ballard, and he is the worst general manager in the league. I don't understand how this dude has a job. It's an absolute joke. Spent no money all the years he could have spent money with these young, great players. Now he had to pay Quentin Nelson $20 million. He had to pay Shaq Leonard $20 million. He had to pay all these other guys millions of dollars. Oh, and what has been the weak link of this entire Colts team for the last 3 years? Wide receiver. He did nothing except take a stab on Michael Pittman, which, by the way, in the second round, when they could have taken guys earlier, lots of other drafts, didn't do it. The offensive line now isn't as good as what it was. He's got a second-round pick that worked out in Darius Leonard. He's got a second-round pick that worked out in Jonathan Taylor, and he's got a second-round pick that's working out in Michael Pittman. Other than that, no first-round hits there. I don't know if we talked about that. Other than Quentin Nelson, but I think everybody in the world knew Quentin Nelson was going to be the next face of offensive lineman in the NFL coming out with his play at Notre Dame. Second of all, Frank Reich was on those Eagles teams, Hunter. Who was the head coach of those teams, and who was the one calling plays during those runs?
The Jags coach.
Oh, weird. Which one has a worse quarterback and overall a lot less talent on their team?
The Jags.
And what team won via shutout this weekend?
That'd be the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Weird. It's so crazy how we love to give credit to the guys that aren't actually responsible for anything. And by we, I include myself in that. Everybody's always looking for the next thing. It's the next guy who can be here. Oh, Sean McVay's great, but maybe it was really Kevin O'Connell. Maybe, yeah, sure. Doug Peterson seems to know what's going on. Like, he's a really good coach, but maybe it's Frank Reich. It's always the next guy. Maybe we just give credit to the people that are in charge of the dang thing. And if we weren't so impatient, we wouldn't have had really bad down years in Philadelphia, because Howie Roseman's a good GM and they just needed to get Carson Wentz out of the building. Drives me nuts.
Boom, roasted like 3 teams there. Man, good for you, Austin.
That just casts aside a lot of terrible moments for the Eagles over the past 3 years.
Sorry for the ricochet.
A lot of terrible moments that Doug Peterson's responsible for. Jeez, okay.
Yeah, that makes me, the only thing I had here for the Jags, my Jags takeaway is that their offense it's decent, but it's all short, easy passes for Trevor Lawrence. Everything is basically running underneath. He makes a few plays downfield with his legs and then throws it. But for the most part, this is just like drag routes and in routes and just crossers. Easy stuff for his quarterback to get in a groove.
Good. Sounds like a well-coached team that's coaching to his team's strengths.
Absolutely is, and that's why they got a double this Sunday.
I'm all right. Resident Colts fan here, closeted Colts fan. They're going to figure this out. We're going to figure this out.
They will.
It'll be week 6 because
they'll be 2-4 when they start to figure it out.
If he's winless for 2 or 3 more weeks, he may get canned.
Yeah, that being said, they're probably losing this week as well.
It might just take Jim Irsay one too many gin and tonics to just pull the plug on this whole Frank Reich thing. All right, let's move on to this week's action. Where's my list of games? Right in front of my face. Let's start with this week's Thursday night game. We've got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland's a 5-point favorite in this one. Austin, I want to hear your side of this because you thought the Browns were going to get off to a good start because of how bad their schedule is at the very beginning. They're sitting here 1-1, came off a poopy loss to the Jets. What do you think about this game on Thursday for both teams?
I think Cleveland should win this game easily. I don't think either of these teams are great right now, but Jacoby Brissett hasn't been a problem so far. Nick Chubb's been awesome. The only big issue that we saw last week was just absolutely terrible secondary play. And you don't have to worry about that when Mitch Trubisky's throwing the ball around. So if they're not going to take advantage of your biggest weakness, then it seems like Cleveland should have this wrapped up.
Should, but it's a divisional game.
It is. That's why I'm not locking it up.
On a short week, too.
Yep.
That's also why I'm not locking it up, but I agree in every single way. Cleveland should win this game handedly. The only way it wouldn't is if it was a divisional game that got weird.
Yeah, my takeaways for the Browns team right now is Chubb is Chubb. He's going to be pretty much the carrying force of that team offensively, and he's done a phenomenal job at it so far.
Except for when he fell down.
And he took the L for that today. He's blaming the loss on himself, and he's done it in the past though. He stopped at the 1 yard line and fallen down to get the team win instead of the touchdown. But
real quick, how do we feel about that when players take the blame for the loss when it absolutely is their fault?
I'm fine. They just better respond the next week. If you go out and you suck again next week.
I mean, yeah, he was good, but if he goes down, literally the game's over.
Yeah.
It is 100% on him. Anyways, just curious.
My other take though is that the Browns defense is bad, and for me, it starts with the linebackers. The linebackers can't defend the pass. All of the passes that have gashed the Browns this season have been over the middle, and the linebackers just look lost. And they're the ones that, if you watch till the end of the play, they turn and look at the defensive back, and the defensive back is always like, "What are you doing?" Yep. None of these linebackers, they're all good at defending the run, but none of them can defend the pass, because I don't think the Browns secondary is that bad. They're where they need to be. They get burnt over top a lot, or probably once a game, which, yes, isn't good. But I just don't think, and I said it last year, I don't think Joe Woods is a good defensive coordinator, and these linebackers don't know how to defend the pass. I think that Trubisky could have some success this week, and I think this game will actually be close.
Do you, from what I haven't watched all of the games, definitely not as much as you have, but does it seem like they're just 100% downhill? Like, that's kind of the vibe I get, is that all the linebackers, just similar to what happened and the Bears got torched with it, is they're so focused on the run game and stopping the run that they just ignore passing assignments.
Yeah, it could be. I think part of it too, though, is this team probably in the offseason spends a heck of a lot of time defending the run because the offense wants to work on the run, and they probably don't defend the pass enough. Because I do think that this defense is good at stopping the run, but they, like Hunter, you said earlier, they can't stop a nosebleed when it comes to the passing game. I don't really have much to say for the Steelers. TJ Watt's out, so that defense, like I said after week 1, that defense to me looked great, but without TJ Watt, what would it be? What we saw last week. They're a good defense. They just don't get the takeaways, and they don't get nearly as many sacks.
Yeah, I think that was just the Patriots being inept. I don't think that was a great performance out of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Patriots were definitely just struggling offensively that game.
Well, they're going to struggle offensively all season because they're bad too. But That wraps it up for this game. Let's move on to the next one. I've got the Houston Texans at the Chicago Bears. Or never mind. No, we're not talking that one. Sorry. Austin, give me a quick point, though, because I already brought it up. I'll let you spend 15 seconds on it. Go.
This has to be a Justin Fields bounce back game. That's kind of all there is to that. If he's bad again, then there's going to start being some real questions.
All right. Good enough for me. Let's move on to Bills Dolphins. This game to me could be the game of the week. And Hunter, I want to throw it to you to start it out as the residential Tuanon. What do you think? About the Dolphins this week? Do you think, because this is like their first real test of the season of like, hey, like you're going against the baddest guy on the block in this game this week. Do you think they'll hold their own, or do you think they'll get blown out of the water like everyone else in the Bills' path right now?
Anything less than a 50-50 point game with both quarterbacks throwing for 6 touchdowns apiece is going to be a huge disappointment in this game, right? That's the standard for Tua going forward, right?
I just don't get how this is a 1:00 game.
Eastern time. Real. I mean, they need games to throw on the 1:00 slate. After last week, that 1:00 slate sucked.
I think this week's 1:00 slate is stacked, and we're not going to talk about many of them, but I think there's a lot of entertaining games. But go ahead.
Bills should win this game handedly. I don't think the Dolphins, when you really test them to come from behind, I know they just did it last week. But I don't think that they're that type of team that is going to be consistently able to do that every single week. because of one guy, and that's Tua. I'm not a believer yet. I need to see it several times here before I buy in. Josh Allen, that offense for the Bills. Last night, like, they could score at will. Like, they didn't really have any issues at all. I mean, he was throwing 50-50 balls to Diggs all day, and Diggs was just ripping it out of their hands, just walking in for touchdowns.
Yeah, it must be nice to have a really good receiver.
Yeah, I wish I had one.
I don't have one either, so.
Not one that gets the ball, at least.
Buffalo is the best team in the NFL so far this season, and it's not even close.
No, it's not.
Like, and that doesn't mean that's the way it'll be throughout the entire season.
Okay.
But for what we've seen so far, it is a massive gap between 1 and 2. And I think that will shrink. I think Buffalo will have some dips. I think Kansas City will show that they're Kansas City. But man, I just don't see how in the world that Miami's going to be able to stop them at all.
Yeah, stopping them. Yes, I agree. I don't know. It might just take,
it's not stopping,
one
it's
of those.
Up.
But that's the thing, though, is that, I mean, do you think it just takes a couple hiccups of Josh Allen for this game to be close? You know what I mean? 1 or 2 picks, and this game is, the Dolphins can take advantage of that. We've seen they can score points.
He's still prone to do every single game. Have those 1 or 2 moments where you're just like, what the hell was that? Like that. This is who we are talking about as maybe the best quarterback in the league. He had that one play. What was it last night? Was it the 4th down play where they snapped it to him and he kind of takes a couple steps to the right and just throws it into the defender's hands and he drops it? Like, what the hell?
It's just testing out the defense.
I guess so. But Patrick Mahomes does that type of stuff too, so what can I say?
Yeah, I think really the step we've seen from Josh this year has been that it's only been once or twice. Whereas in years past, it's been 4, 5, 6 times a game, and you can't avoid them that many times. And so if he can continue to be that 1 to 2 times, then they're going to continue to be one of the best, if not the best, offenses in football.
He's a wild stallion. You got to reel him in.
Week 6 is the game that we're just going to have to schedule. That's when the Bills and the Chiefs play. I think that's a good job on the NFL's scheduling part is, gives both of these teams 5 weeks to figure out what they got. And week 6 is going to be the battle of the Titans in the AFC, in my opinion. Let's move on. Either of you locking this one up?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Give me Buffalo.
All right. Austin's locking up Buffalo. All right. Next game I've got highlighted here, Packers Bucks. Austin, I want to start with you on this one. Hunter, I'll let you wrap it up. What did you think? A little bit. Tell me what you thought about the Bucks this past Sunday, and what you think about them going forward, and then we'll let Hunter hit the Packers.
He's asking you, Austin, first.
Yeah.
I thought you said Hunter. My bad.
No, we'll hit Hunter after.
Yeah, I mean, I Tampa's beat up. Tampa's really beat up. If they aren't gonna have Julio Jones, if they're not gonna have Chris Godwin, it'll be another game where you gotta hope Brady can be Brady. They just signed Cole Beasley to the practice squad. Don't know how much of a role he's gonna be able to have. But I mean, we'll see. Mike Evans is suspended for the game. We're supposed to have that ruling tomorrow, so maybe he won't be. Maybe he'll get unsuspended for this game. But if Tampa's got no receivers, look for Leonard Fournette to have to kind of carry this team to victory.
Yeah, the note I've got here for Tampa Bay, and this is what I've really thought about them this season, is that they just don't look good offensively. Maybe the injuries are a part of it. And I just think Tom Brady looks super disinterested and frustrated and just almost like he doesn't want to be there, like he'd rather be retired.
Ooh, like tomorrow when he takes Wednesdays off now?
Yeah.
That just broke before the show started.
Yeah. The guy just seems checked out.
This seemed kind of like, to me, with how all of this is unfolded, is that Arians has said for a long time that he wanted to have like a successor. And so he kind of had it all lined up, and then Brady chose to retire. And Arians was like, dude, can you give him 1 year? Like we'll bend
Yeah.
over backwards for you. Well, if you need days off, you need time off during training camp, fine. But I don't want to throw them to the wolves, and so it's like you're getting a shell.
Yes, that's like that makes sense to me. Your little theory there, but like, I just don't see it. Like the guy's body language and him sitting on the bench or in press conferences, like he just doesn't want to be there. Is what it looks like to me.
And he looks small.
Yes,
He looks real skinny.
could be the plastic surgery he just got, but
could be that.
That's why you got to miss 3 weeks or whatever. He missed 10 days.
No, that was the Masked Singer. He was getting ready to. He was losing weight so he could go on the Masked Singer. Somehow. I don't know.
It had to fit. It had to fit in the costume.
I don't know. The Bucks this year, I think their real issue is the injuries. But I do agree. Brady looks disinterested, completely disinterested in anything Bucks related right now. If there's anything you can do against the Bucks when you're playing them offensively, what you want to do, you want to run the ball. Packers are going to try to run the ball with everything they got.
Akeem Hicks out 4 weeks, came out today, so got a big boost there.
Say that again. What'd you say?
Said Akeem Hicks is out in the next month. That came out today too. So just another straw in the lucky ass hat for Packers.
I'm locking in my Packers here.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I just game script wise, we're going to try to run the ball the entire game, and they're going to try to as well. But I think our defense can hold up a little bit better than theirs, and it's going to be a low scoring game, a slow game. What is this? America's Game of the Week, probably.
Yes.
Yep.
I don't know if it'll be America's Game of the Week, but
take the under.
Yeah, take the under. Give me the Packers in this one.
All right, that wraps up all of the games I had keyed on to talk about. Are there any other games on the slate you guys would like to talk about?
I actually have a game I want to talk about.
Let's hear it.
I want to talk about this Chiefs-Colts game.
Ooh,
all right.
Why and just why is the spread at 6.5?
Because they're on the road.
That's why. The only reason.
Yep.
I mean, it's 3 points is what it's supposed to be, right? 3 points home versus away.
Yep. So it's really 9.5 here. And it's just below that double-digit marker, which is the ultimate disrespectful line. They don't get bigger than 10 almost ever in the NFL. So it's about as big a spread as they'll give.
We had a 16.5-point spread last year.
Yeah.
It was the Rams and someone. It was the Rams and someone. I don't remember who it was that they were playing, but it was the Rams playing someone at home.
Yeah, it was
might have been
one
like
of us
Atlanta
had to
or
lock
something.
them up that week too. I mean, how could you pass up an opportunity for 16 points? That's all I really want to hit on that game. Was just why is it 6.5? Because I'm going to be betting against them for sure, against the Colts for sure.
Are you locking up the Chiefs in this one too?
I'm not locking them up in this one just because my Colts. We got to make that comeback.
I got you. Yeah, I feel you. Austin, I think I see you've got highlighted Detroit and Minnesota.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear it.
Please, 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 if you're betting money, just throw this one into consideration. This is my favorite lock of the week at Minnesota -6. This is watch this move. It'll move towards Detroit the later we get in this week. Detroit just had a win. Everybody thinks Detroit doesn't suck. Minnesota just was in prime time when Kirk Cousins isn't good. Tons of other trendy things that I can tell you about teams coming off of not covering a spread and the other team had just won a spread and then the one team's favored, blah, 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 blah. If this line moves anywhere close to a field goal, I will be in trouble. The amount of money that I bet if my wife finds out, because Minnesota should be way more than a touchdown favorite. They're a far superior team.
And they're at home.
It was a letdown spot after a big division win. Had to go on the road in prime time. They'll be back to what they should be, which is a much better team than Detroit. While they aren't a great team, they're a much better team than Detroit.
They need to get back to running the football.
And they will. I think they will.
And Austin throwing all that shade to my Lions, dude.
I love the Vikings. Can I just say?
I like watching this Lions team this year, and I've always enjoyed watching the Lions, and I love the YouTube or like watching the Vikings, I should say. And I love that you two
They're
hate
so
the Vikings.
predictable. Every year is the exact same team.
And if anything isn't as as Vikings as possible, Hunter, isn't it a bounce back game at 1:00 where Kirk Cousins can have 300 yards and 3 touchdowns?
I can't wait to start him in fantasy.
I'm looking forward to watching this one too. I think it'll actually be a pretty solid offensive game. I think this game will have a lot of points.
You tried to talk me out of Kirk Cousins playing poorly on prime time and all that stuff, Austin. I was telling you, man.
I gave you statistics that showed his last 4. He was 3-1 against the spread. That's all. That's all that happened.
He wasn't last night.
No, he was not. And I moved the line to 10, and he still couldn't cover.
Off of last night's game, are the Eagles legit? Thoughts?
I think that their offense is legit. Let me pull up what I've got written down here. I think that their offense is legit. I think that run game that they have mixed with being able to pass the ball and Jalen Hurts' legs just being a playmaking quarterback, that Eagles team is going to be frisky with good teams. I'm not saying they're going to go far, but I'm feeling very positive about them winning the division. Somehow the Giants are tied with them atop the division. Giants are 2-0. Shout out Giants fans. I have no idea how the hell you have 2 wins.
Yeah, I'm not sold on this team at all. I think they'll win the division. I think we all picked them at the beginning of the year, simply by process of elimination, is that none of the other teams in this division are any good. Someone's got to win it. And Washington's not good. Dallas now doesn't have Dak, and the Giants are still the Giants. So I don't know. When Jalen Hurts doesn't have his first read, he's not good.
Nope.
The problem for other teams is that's a good thing for Philadelphia is that Nick Sirianni has been lights out these first 2 weeks in getting him plays where he can just go to his first read.
Oh yeah.
He's been fantastic, and I was very critical of him last year. He's been fantastic. So kudos to him for making some adjustments and really getting into a spot where they can be in the driver's seat in this division. But we'll see when some good teams start taking away either AJ Brown or Devontae Smith and make Jalen Hurts kind of play quarterback. We'll see against the good teams.
Well, according to you, they don't really need to take away AJ Brown because he's kind of overrated in the first place.
69 yards, right?
Yeah,
gotcha.
And
super elite
look at what's happening to the Titans now that he's not there. Strange.
Ryan Tannehill still sucks.
Just super strange to me. The Eagles, I think, good point on them being dangerous, but they're not playoff dangerous at all. Not even remotely.
Yeah, in the playoffs, yes. I mean, we'll have to see what happens when they get there, but I do think they're going to be a very good offense this year. They're going to put up a lot of numbers, and they're going to eat. There's no doubt in my mind they don't make the playoffs.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they're definitely making the playoffs. They're about as safe as any team in the NFC because there's no competition in that division.
Yeah. I don't know if I've got any more games to talk about, but I did decide that I'm going to go ahead to Hunter and Austin. I'm going to lock up the Bills over Miami with you. And I'm going to also lock up the Rams over the Cardinals this week. I don't have any faith in the Cardinals.
Is that why you picked the Buffalo with me?
No, I didn't even think about that, but maybe I should just do what you guys do and maybe I'll get one. I do see though that on your list, we don't have the New Orleans game. And that's who I'm also locking up as well. I'm taking the Saints over the Panthers this week.
Yeah, Carolina sucks.
The Saints. Giving the Saints 3 points on the road. Yeah, I don't care how bad Jameis looked this past weekend. They're not going to be worse than Baker and the Panthers.
Does Matt Rule make it to week 8?
Man,
I just don't see.
He's got another quarterback that he can go to though. So maybe that'll make it.
Darnold's hurt
by week 8, though.
I just don't know what the point of, like, if you get rid of him, it's just a loss of a season no matter what.
Right.
It just, yeah. I mean, if you want to get him out because you don't like the guy, that's fine. But like, they're bad.
It was a funny funny joke that I heard on Pardon My Take today, but PFD had a point where he said Matt Rule should just come out with ridiculous offenses so he can get fired in enough time to try to get the Nebraska job. And I think for his future as a football coach, that might be his best plan.
It might be. I'm going road favorites this week as my locks.
Okay.
I already took the Packers, locking them up. Well, that's not a road favorite. That's a road underdog. But anyways, I'm going to join you there, AJ, on the Saints. Definitely a good pick there. Love that pick. But I'm also going to throw in, I thought about going Cardinals and Rams game. Decided to go against it. I love the Ravens this week against the Patriots. I love that by 3. Patriots have no offense right now. If the Ravens can limp to 20 points, they'll win this game and cover.
That's true. Yeah, the Patriots offense just looks lost. The Ravens, yes, you're right. They're going to put up all those points without really blinking.
I'm joining you, Hunter. I forgot that game was this week. That'll be my third lock.
Only 3 points, man. Got to get on it.
All right. Hunter, any final words on Landshark? Did you enjoy it?
Loved Landshark. I'll be a repeat buyer.
Repeat?
Uh-oh.
Are you going to buy more than one?
Probably. I'll buy a 6-pack.
Wait,
Gotta make sure you keep it in your fridge in a dark place.
do we have a first then?
Well,
First what?
let me ask you, AJ.
That's the question.
Let me ask you, AJ. Just hypothetically,
Sure.
you open your fridge, okay?
Okay.
This beer's sitting there, Landshark. You grabbing it?
Yeah, I'd grab one.
Let's go.
Whoa!
I'd grab one. It's pretty good.
That is wonderful.
I drank like
I
all
gotta
of
go
it.
get me one. I gotta
They're
go
pretty
find it
good.
somewhere.
I think it'd be good with a lime, Hunter, kind of like a Corona. Push a lime down in there. I think it'd be pretty nice, especially if it's an island style lager. If I'm sitting on a beach and someone hands me a cold one of those, I think I'd be a pretty happy camper.
I'm sitting here. I got my Cayman Island shirt on, drinking Landshark. Where's my fishing pole at?
All right. Well, that pretty much does it for this week. So if you made it this far, thanks for listening. If you're taking our betting advice, hopefully you haven't been going with my picks. Hunter, so far you're winning the lock competition. Austin's in a cloak, or actually you and Austin are tied at 3s. But I'm coming for you guys. That doesn't matter. It's all about what the number is at the end of the season. But
Which
thanks for
more than what you have now.
You are the Colts of this podcast. Can't wait to see you come back this year.
Until next time, take it easy, everyone.